Hey guys, what's going on? We're going to talk about a non-coronavirus topic because one, I'm sick of talking about coronavirus, and two, I said I already wouldn't talk about it, so I'm addressing it in every single video. I am contradicting myself. Such a shame. I'm such a sham. Just a piece of trash who says what he does what he says he's not going to do. We're going to talk about Jorgensen. She is the Libertarian for president for this year. She just won the votes a couple of days ago, and we're going to go over her policies and contrast them with Trump's and Biden's. So she is not on. Usually, I get people's positions on issues on theissues.org. That seems to be the most consistent website with having the most available information, and they source what they say. And I've not found anything to be inaccurate over all the years I've used them, but the problem is she's not on that. So we're going to go to her website, Joj2020.com, and it lays out her vision. It starts off with, generations of Republican and Democrat politicians have failed the people of America. Together they've given us over $23 trillion in debt, non-stop involvement in expensive and deadly foreign wars, skyrocketing healthcare costs, the highest imprisonment rate in the world, even higher among racial minorities and the poor, a broken retirement system unable to pay promised benefits, tariffs that are destroying markets and American farmers, and an endless immigration crisis. Now, the really interesting thing is, there is no Republican or Democrat that will deny that these are problems or that these exist. The only thing that I can think off the top of my head is that Republicans usually favor tariffs and say that they do not destroy markets, they are necessary for American workers, and Democrats, usually deny that there is any immigration crisis whatsoever. In fact, they want open borders. That is the mainstream Democratic position nowadays. Tariffs are a mixed bag because they do have certain benefits and certain problems. It's just whether you think it's worth it or not. We're not going to go into tariffs, obviously, because that's a whole subject in and of itself. But basically, for the vast majority of these problems, no one denies that these exist. They may deny that they're problems. Most people don't care about the debt. They won't deny that it's over $23 trillion because you can look it up at any point in time. It is, in fact, over $23 trillion. Now, they'll deny that's a problem. They're like, it's no big deal. We just pay interest on it. Big whoop. Again, no one gives a shit that eventually, I know I've said this so many times, I'm just the guy who talks about debt all the time, just some loser who just cares about numbers that are intangible and they don't manifest themselves until, the economy crashes. No one's denying that wars are expensive or that we have been in non-stop wars basically for the vast majority of this country's history, including the last 70 years or whatever. We have been in non-stop war. We may have had 3 years of no wars. No one's denying that healthcare costs are going up. No one's denying that we have the highest imprisonment rate in the world. So all of these problems are objectively true. And whether you say they're problems or not, so I think the thing is, this is what's happening. And again, this is caused by Republicans and Democrats alike. I bash Democrats more often in this channel than Republicans. Republicans have done more than their fair share of these problems. That's why people are like, vote red to solve all these problems in America. It's like, that's not going to solve the problem. Yeah, that's going to stop the Democrats from doing what they're doing, but it's not going to stop Republicans from doing almost the exact same thing in the vast majority of situations. Yeah, they're a little different here and there. But people vote red if you want to stop all this illegal immigration and all this, what they consider to be too much legal immigration. We've had Trump for 4 years. He has done little to nothing about the illegal immigration problem in this country, which is 30 million plus people in this country, and he is not stopping the 1 million legal immigrants every single year. He has done nothing to solve that problem. Voting red will not do a goddamn thing. Even when he had control of both parts of Congress, he did nothing. They don't care about these problems. So let's go over what her platform is in response to all of these problems. So the government spending, deficits, and debt. She will block any new borrowing. She will veto any spending bill that leads to a deficit and veto any debt ceiling increase. She wants to have spending reduction targets is met, whatever. No Republican or no Democrat will ever do this, ever. It has been several generations since any president has blocked any new borrowing or vetoed any spending bill or vetoed any debt ceiling increase. The last surplus we had was Bill Clinton, I believe, his last 3 years in office, and that was only due to a myriad of factors. We're still in heavy debt. It's just for those 3 years we happened to make more than what we lost. So we took away the debt a little bit those 3 years, and then it's been skyrocketing ever since. And before that, I can't even remember the last president that had a surplus before Clinton. It was like Eisenhower or like pre-World War II or something. Like, it's just, for the vast majority of anyone who's listening to this, their lifetimes, we have been in deficit. We have lost money year to year and added to the now $23 trillion national debt. Now, to stop the economy from crashing, the president needs to do this, what she's going to do. But I know she won't win the election. I know that no Republican or Democrat will ever do this. So we are on a straight shot course for the interest payments to totally eclipse all the money that we make, and we can't even pay that, and that's when you default on your debt, and that's when the economy crashes. People are like, just raise taxes more. Even if we taxed everyone at 100% of their wealth, it still wouldn't be enough to pay everything we're paying for. The problem is not we're not taxing people enough. The problem is we're spending too much. So let's go to neutrality and peace. She wants to turn America into one giant Switzerland. She, no involvement in foreign wars, bring all the military personnel home, no U.S. military aid to foreign governments, no U.S. blockades or embargoes on non-military trade. That is objectively the best policy a country can have. There is a reason why no one hates Switzerland, no one invades Switzerland. There is not vast swaths of the world who hate Switzerland because of the actions they have done. You know why people hate the U.S. so much? Maybe because they make up excuses to invade countries, topple it in bloody violence, kill hundreds of thousands of people, install a puppet dictator that just does whatever the U.S. tells him to do. He tortures people, he steals their resources and gives it to the U.S. at like a steal rate. Yeah, and they do this time and time and time again. We can just do a whole video just on this one thing of why the U.S. foreign policy is absolute train wreck. For our economy, we're spending way too much money on all these wars we don't get involved in. We're pissing off all these people that we shouldn't be pissing off. There's no reason why we need to drone strike some innocent family in, like, Nigeria, for example, then have all these people pissed off at us, and then that's why we have Boko Haram wanting to kill us. And that's why we had all Islamic terrorist attacks, during the Bush and Obama years. There's a reason why Islamic militants aren't preaching their hatred for Switzerland. Because Switzerland doesn't do anything to them. It leaves them the fuck alone. And before we started bugging every single other country, sticking our nose in their business, we don't have no business sticking our nose in, no one hated us either. The US was largely ignored until World War I. We just minded our own fucking business. Yeah, we had minor wars like the War of 1815 with Britain, and then we had a war with Mexico, whatever. But by and large, people ignored us. Europe ignored us. They're focused on Russia and China and Japan and all that stuff. No one gave a shit. It wasn't until World War I where we actually showed balls and actually kicked the shit out of all these other countries that we didn't. No one thought, those the rural Americans, that are so backwaterish and behind on technology, not sophisticated. They didn't think we could actually fight. We're getting off topic here. Oh, I love you. Don't you love tangents? This channel is just one big tangent. It just flows. Give me any reason why we should have 200,000 American military personnel stationed in foreign countries. Why? What's the point? Bring them all home. No, we don't need to be involved in Korea, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, or wherever. Trump and Biden will have the exact same policy when it comes to debt, when it comes to wars. Every president says, oh, my predecessor, they're really bad about the budget, but I'm going to do better. And then they don't. The only one that can say anything about that is Bill Clinton. And that's because he raised taxes so much, and that's not how you solve the problem. Bush railed on Clinton for his tax breaks, for his tax increases. He lowered taxes to his credit, but then he just ran up the deficit a lot with all his spending. Obama criticized Bush for his spending and then ran up the deficit even more. Trump criticized Obama for his spending and ramped up even more. There's no change when you switch from party to party. It's exactly the same. Let's go into healthcare. Republican and Democrat policies over the past 50 years are the reason healthcare has become so expensive. How many times has a president made healthcare part of his agenda and it just becomes worse? When has it ever become better? We spend all of this energy and all of this money and all of this time. Seemingly every other year, the president's like, yep, we're going to fix healthcare. Or some Congress like, we're going to fix healthcare. We're going to make it better. We're going to make it more accessible and more affordable and better, save more lives. And it just gets worse year after year after year. I would like to talk to anyone who's like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, and just like compare your healthcare when you first became an adult to now. I can guarantee you not a single one of them is like, oh yeah, it's so much better now. I can guarantee you, I would bet my life savings, it's all gone downhill for everyone. She goes on, their latest proposals to fix healthcare will further micromanage your doctors and restrict your access to care while failing to solve the underlying problem. They differ only on whether this should be done by private companies or government bureaucrats. This is exactly the opposite of what needs to be done. We can reduce the healthcare 75% by allowing real price competition and by substantially reducing government and insurance company paperwork. This will make healthcare more affordable for most Americans while also reducing the cost of legacy programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA. Now, she doesn't go far enough, in my opinion. We should just do away with all that, with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, but I will take reducing the cost of it by 75% over the status quo, which is what Trump and Biden will do. So at least it eats up less of the budget. The vast majority of our federal budget is on various social services and healthcare programs. If we reduce the cost of those, we can stop running up the deficit and actually have a chance of having a surplus. Again, that's just a baby step, but I'll take that over just rapidly rising health costs, both for the consumer and for the debt. Like, everyone is paying more because of these restrictions, because of these government's interventions. The consumer is paying more in premiums and co-pays every single year. The employer is paying more to put someone on health insurance. That's why, so employers, if they can have a way to get out of paying for someone's health care, they will, because it costs them so much money. So the consumer is paying more, the employer is paying more, and the government is paying more. Everyone is paying more because all of these stupid ass rules. You're like, oh, insurance paperwork, yeah, it's always difficult, it always is time consuming, whatever, it's no big deal. Yeah, a little increment and year to year on the difficulty or the time it takes to fill out insurance paperwork is no big deal. But again, when you take over a long period of time, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's astronomically more difficult. There is no reason for all of this, like filling out the same form like 15 fucking times because of this act, and this restriction, and this legality, and this loophole. It's just fucking ridiculous. People constantly complain about the environment, but yet they will not turn to the one solution we have at this moment that can substitute coal and oil burning, and that is nuclear power plants. We can do solar, wind, and water, but at our current technology, we cannot supplement. They're not powerful enough to replace coal and oil, and then we're totally clean. We need nuclear, and nuclear is clean. People, when they think nuclear, automatically they think of nuclear power plants and breaking down in Fukushima, whatever. You know, there are like thousands of nuclear power plants across the world, and like once a decade one blows up, like Fukushima. So you take like the worst thing possible that could happen, for a certain industry, and say, oh, this is the reason why we can't do it. Okay, that's just one drawback. Yeah, it's bad, but what are the benefits? You have to weigh the benefits and the drawbacks. And right now, there's just no way that wind, solar, and air can replace coal and oil. They're just not powerful enough. Yeah, maybe in 20, 30 years when our technology is better, we can do that. That's just like, ideally, yeah, I would like to have a bunch of solar panels on my house and completely power my house with solar, so I don't have to pay the electricity company. First of all, the solar panels are astronomically expensive. It's completely out of the price of most Americans to be able to pay for enough panels to power their own house. That's the problem. Now, later down the line, we can make solar panels cheaper, and yeah, they'd be more affordable for ordinary people to use them, so they don't have to pay as much. But as of right now, it's just not possible. We need to go to nuclear, but Democrats refuse to support nuclear power because they are just scared that Homer Simpson is running the stupid power plant or something. Like, it's just, yeah, there's problems with every industry, but like, are you going to cherry pick bad examples out of thousands and say, oh, this is why we can't do it? She moves on to social security, where blah blah blah. She wants to implement the solution, the 6.2 solution, which allows any American the opportunity to opt out of the current system while making the current system fiscally stable for those who choose to remain. Now, ideally, yeah, I would want her to scrap the damn thing because it's unconstitutional and it's a huge fucking chunk of our debt. But I will take the solution the compromise to be able to opt out of the program. Because I want to plan my retirement better than some government bureaucrat that doesn't know my needs, that doesn't know anything about me, and the Social Security taxes are fixed. I want to be able to put into my own savings account for retirement how much I want to, more or less depending on what I deem appropriate for myself. Not just some government just to say, okay, this is the artificial Social Security tax and take out of your paycheck. First of all, I would like that right now. Thank you very much. I need every money I can get. That's hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single paycheck going just to some program which I don't even know if I'm ever going to get. So I'd rather keep that hundreds of dollars every single paycheck and put that into a savings plan that I deem appropriate, that will garnish much more interest and much more money than some fund that I have no idea if I'm ever going to get. This is one of the few things that I disagree with her with. She wants seemingly like open borders. Lots of libertarians are open borders, which puts them in bed with far liberals and communists. It's really not a good bet to be in, folks, but she wants to repeal arbitrary quotas, number of people you can legally enter, which that seems to infer that she wants unlimited legal immigration, which again is a topic for another time on how unlimited legal immigration will completely crash a country. I would want anyone to point out one country that has ever existed in the world that has unlimited legal immigration and still has survived. You can't name one because any country that's foolish enough to do that has crashed and burned and died. The only countries that survived are the ones that don't do that. She goes on to criminal justice reform. Well, she wants to get rid of assets forfeiture, which I talked about many years ago, on how the police can legally take away your cash, and all they have to say is, we suspect you're doing something. They don't have to provide any proof or a court. There's no court date to establish this. There's no proof necessary. They just need to say that, and they can take your money and they can hold it forever. Very few people ever get their money back from asset forfeiture. People who do get it back have to spend way more money than what they took in order to get it back, so most people don't even bother. This is the problem that most people, one, don't know about, or two, they know about, like, oh yeah, odds are it's not going to happen to me because I don't carry a lot of cash on me at once, so they just don't care. So she wants to end, I can talk. I'm an adult, I can talk, I can speak English. She wants to end federal civil asset forfeiture, and she wants to pardon people for non-violent drug crimes. She wants to end the failed war on drugs. Again, I don't know how anyone, except for like the religious right who view that like drugs are a sin, thinks that the war on drugs is a good idea. You know, hundreds of innocent people killed, dozens if not hundreds of police officers killed because they enter people's homes in the middle of the night, you know, with guns and flashlights. What do you expect them to get shot at or something? Like, come on, people. We've spent, what, trillions and trillions of dollars, and yet drugs are as rampant as more rapid than ever before. Like, what's the point? We have spent all this money, and none of the goals of the war on drugs has been met. So what's the point? Why don't we stop wasting all this money and use it for something more constructive, or just save it so, again, we can have more of a shot at having a surplus every year and try to, you know, cut back on the deficit. And she goes on, she finishes with taxes. So she says taxation is theft, so she's red-pilled on the tax situation. She wants to slash federal spending, make government much, much smaller, and let you keep what you earn. Now, do I have any hope that any libertarian president will slash taxes down to zero? No, because the federal government does need some money to do the things the Constitution allows it to do. I have no problem spending 5 or 10% of my income in taxes if I know the government is actually doing the things it's supposed to be doing by the Constitution. Any more than that, just like, no, that's kind of unnecessary. Actually, that's really unnecessary. For you to just protect our rights, maintain like the postal system, for example, have a military force and police force that actually does their job instead of just being a mercenary group for the government just to invade other countries, or a police force to terrorize our citizens. Like, if police actually did what they were supposed to, then we wouldn't hate them so much. No one hated police officers in the 50s who like knew their neighborhood, knew the people they walked by, and actually gave a shit about their citizens. And there are a lot of good police officers that still do that, but there are a lot of them who don't, and that's the problem. When you have police officers who wear masks and have assault rifles and drive down in APCs down streets, all in the name of protecting you, and you don't know their name, you have no idea where they're from, there's no accountability. Apparently, no one bothers to turn on body cams during all these no-knock raids where they bust into people's houses and shoot them for no reason. Like, it's just, that's not accountable policing. That is not what the police force was designed to do. So yeah, as a libertarian, I have no problem paying a little bit of my income in taxes if I know it is going towards the federal government doing what it's supposed to do. But if I'm spending 20-25% of my entire paycheck just for some low-life bum to live off welfare their entire life and to live a lifestyle more lavish than me because they collect so fucking much for decades and decades, then no, that's not good at all. No, that's completely unacceptable. And there we go. That is her platform. I still don't know who I'm going to vote for because I just found out about her, but her platform seems pretty much standard libertarian. There is little to no deviance from her position than mainstream libertarians. Little to no difference that I can see from Gary Johnson, and Gary Johnson's platform was the same in 2012 as in 2016. Again, the two things I don't agree with her is immigration and abortion, but then again, there are very few libertarians who do agree with me on abortion. Immigration is kind of, I don't know what, 75% want borders, 25% don't. Like, it's an increasing minority. Like, I don't know, like 5 years ago, I didn't hear of any libertarians who agree with open borders, and now it's like a substantial chunk. Like, I don't have the exact raw data, obviously. If there is a poll that breaks it down, I have not seen one. But it's all I know is that I just see it more often than not. I literally never saw it 5 years ago, and now I see it pop up every couple of libertarians I talk to, and one of them's like, oh yeah, I'm open borders. And again, that's an issue for another time as to why open borders is not actually libertarian, but we're not getting into that. Is her platform better than Trump or Biden's? Yes. Obviously, without a doubt. There's just no contest. She's right on almost every single freaking thing. But I know she's not going to win. And it goes, this is the classic conundrum that libertarians find themselves in every single election. Do you vote for your principal candidate, the candidate you actually believe is the best, and let some scumbag win and he's going to further deteriorate the country? Or do you capitulate and say, I'm going to vote for someone who, yeah, most of the things I don't agree with, but they're better than Trump sucks, obviously, but he's better than Biden. So do I bite the bullet and vote for Trump, even though I don't agree with a lot of stuff that he proposes? I really don't agree with how he handles a lot of things, but he's deteriorating the country slower than Biden would have, so it gives me more time to at least prepare for the inevitable crashing the economy or crashing of the country in whatever form, because our politicians are leading us to certain destruction. In a myriad of ways, by the way, not just financial. Immigration is going to crash the country. Crime and violence is going to crash the country. It's just increasing. The finances are going to do it. The environment is going to do it. Like, whatever way it happens, it's going to happen. We have to veer a different course on a very substantial amount of policies if we're going to have any chance of this country surviving. Back to the point. So then, okay, so I vote for Trump because he sucks less than Biden, even though he sucks. Well, then begs the question, does he actually suck more than Biden? If this is pre-coronavirus policy, I would say, yeah, Trump sucks way less than Biden. But then Trump has completely shot the economy in the foot with the way he's handling this coronavirus and letting the Democratic governors just wreak havoc and destroying their own states. I'm just like, this is destroying the country just as fast if Biden became president and then started grabbing guns, had Beto O'Rourke come up and start stealing guns. Like, it's happening just as fast. It may be a little faster or slower, but if you can wipe out 3 years of economic gains in 3 weeks due to your fucking incompetence, you can't do it that much faster than that. I mean, come on. Like, just both parties want to shoot us in the foot, just a different way. So what do? I don't know. I got a few months to decide. At least I know that the Libertarians have a established candidate. I didn't think they would pick anyone because Gary Johnson was picked way before this in 2016. They had their candidate months ago, before November of 2016, and now they wait seemingly to the last minute. I didn't think they'd pick anyone. The party's been in such disarray for so many months and years. This is literally the first peep I've heard of anything substantial since 2016. Like, once they got beat in 2016, they went quiet for years and years and years, and then suddenly became open borders, and they pop back up again, like with this stuff. It's just like, what the fuck? So we shall see what happens.